As the credits roll, I'm going to bring up Sean Horn, who's going to moderate this conversation. And please welcome no other than Iyana Leshea. Thank you so much, Iyana, for being here.
Thank you. Hi, beauty. Come to us. Yay! Wow, bravo. Can
Thank
we
you.
do that again? All right. How are you feeling? How did it feel to see it on the big screen?
I cry every time. I just got done crying, so excuse me. But yeah, it's always near to my heart, and it's amazing. Like sometimes I'm like, that's me right there. I still can't believe it, but yeah, it's this amazing feeling.
Yeah, this is your first time acting, right?
Yes, first time.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to just jump right in because we already had like an hour-long conversation before this.
Yeah.
We just met a couple of hours ago, but there's so much to unpack here. And I thought actually we could take kind of a ReelAbilities angle because who was here for opening night? Okay, so some of you saw Unidentified Objects, right? And I told you that it was a film about alien abduction, and the director of that film talked about how important it was to see the little person in that film be a human being. And so that's why I thought it's so interesting when we think about this film and the photo shoot. And we had kind of talked about, I think it's really interesting, I'm sorry that the filmmaker can't be here, that I think it's sort of interesting when you look at the father's perspective versus Jasmine's perspective, and you know, this question of whether it's exploitation or is it just that the modeling industry is exploitative in general. You know, I wonder where you stand with that, and wonder what your thoughts are about that really pivotal moment for Jasmine.
So yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes I side with the dad, and sometimes I side with Jasmine. I feel like it's just the phase of life and how you look at it. I feel like when I was younger, I would side with Jasmine because, you know, it's my big break. What are you doing? You're ruining it. But now that I'm older, I can see why the dad felt the way he did.
Yeah.
So it just depends on, I guess, my age. Or your age and how you think you look at it. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think there's parts of being different that are very alien-like, right? But you know, my background, by the way, I'm Sean Horn. We all know who you are, and my background is in self-esteem. And one thing that I've always said is, anytime I hear someone say, "I just want to be like everybody else," I know they're lying, because what they're really saying is, "I want everyone to love and accept me as I am." But I think there's so many things culturally that make that difficult. And I think specifically going back to unidentified objects and this film, it's really interesting because I think albinism and little people in particular, in terms of representation, have often not been cast as human beings, whether that be a villain or, you know, an elf or some other worldly being. So it's interesting that the minute this casting director uses the word otherworldly, your father gets up in arms. But then you also couple that with this moment with this white lady coming up and just assuming that you couldn't be family. And that also, I know we talked a little bit about this, being half Asian and having a Chinese side and a Jewish side. You know, I really thought about, some of you may not know this, but my oldest uncle on the Chinese side is albino and Chinese. Yes, he has albinism. And so, you know, his entire life in China, he was often seen as different, you know, because every other Asian person has dark hair, dark eyes. And he felt really alone and often judged, especially in China. And now he's here in New York, and it's still not easy for him today. But, you know, to kind of look like very different than the rest of his 4 siblings who do not have albinism. You know, I thought about, you know, what is it to be a part of a family but not kind of look like the rest of your family? And I wondered if you had some thoughts you wanted to share with us about that.
Yeah, definitely. It is different. I still get a lot of looks to this day. I can say I have never experienced, people, saying, oh, that's not your dad, that's not your mom. But I have met people with albinism that have experienced that. We all have different experiences. But yeah, it's very interesting. My brother's here actually on the front row, Jaleel. So
Hey,
yeah,
Jaleel.
yeah.
Hey.
So yeah, it's especially being African American and having albinism. We don't have pigmentation. My hair, yeah. But it's different. I'm glad I haven't had any negative reactions out in the world. But like I said, everybody's experience is different. But I just feel like it's an ignorance type of thing, because everybody that's African American does not look one way. Everybody that's a certain race does not look one way. So it's a lot.
I mean, that's a great point too.
Yeah.
And people cannot look like their family members all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we had talked a little bit, I thought this was really interesting, about the filming process. Do you want to take us through what that was like as a first-time actress?
Yeah. It was very different, and I liked it in a different, good different way. I never knew before actually acting that films are actually filmed out of order. I never knew that. I thought it was, break down, break down, break down. But it was very fun. It was just amazing being behind the scenes, just looking at everything and working with people that already had experience with acting. So when it was my time to do my line, I'm just like watching them talking back and forth, and I'm forgetting, like, you need to talk, you need to tell your line. But it was a nice experience, and the way the director prepped me to actually act in the film is like, she'll let me know, like, hey, we're doing we're doing page 17 through 14 today, so make sure you read up on that again. So it was a lot easy for me to ease into it. So I really enjoyed that process.
So you think you want to do some more?
Definitely.
Amazing. I'm so glad we're doing this, but I think I mentioned to you that this film was the inspiration for another panel that we're doing on Wednesday on beauty. And I think it's really because, first of all, I've done this as a fashion or beauty panel for so long, and I think that there's not enough really talking about beauty. And I thought we could talk a little bit about that, since I know that you do a lot of beauty influencing. Everybody follow her on Instagram, TikTok. She's got a YouTube channel, so we got to plug that. But yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what that's like being a content creator? Because I would imagine it's very different than having a director telling you how to pose and what you look like, and you get to kind of define it for yourself. So I know you got quite a following too. Can you tell us how that happened?
Yeah, so I actually started content creating back in, I believe it was 2018. I started my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel because I didn't see anybody that looked like me. So I was like, I want to be in this space. I want to be here for somebody that looks like me, inspire somebody to show, like, hey, you can do this too. You can be in this space. You can be an influencer. You can be whatever you want to be. Just go out there and put yourself out there. So it started on YouTube. I started in 2018, and then I went on to Instagram, started on there. I have a big following on Instagram. And then I went to TikTok as well. I just wanted to make sure I have my, inspire people on social media, be positive on social media, and show that people that look like me are deserving of beauty. I do a lot of hair and makeup on Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff. So I just want to show the world, like, we are here and we are deserving of beauty.
Yes, amen. Amen to that. And we're going to open it up for questions in a second, but we did talk about something. I think we both share this goal too. You said you really wanted to make sure that this would be an empowering story and that your presence on social media is empowering. And for me, I also forgot to mention that I'm on the film selection committee here. Really excited about that. And we watch about 400 films a year. But one of the things beyond just seeing people on the screen that we want, I think we can share this goal together, is to not only see representation, but empowered representation. So anyway, I just thought that was really great, that you didn't want to just be out there. You want to be a source of strength for others. I think that might be, is it a good time to take some questions? Because I know there's a lot. I see hands flying up already. Okay. That's the first hand I saw right there. In row 3, 4, I'm not sure. Hi.
The film that you're in, I'm going to guess, was it in Massachusetts?
Minnesota, Minneapolis.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Oh, okay, we have a, okay, perfect.
I can tell you, fitting in is a daisy. It was never easy, but there's when it comes to judgment, there's always going to be somebody judging you. I wonder if they took a look in the mirror and saw for themselves what kind of people they really are.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's talk for a minute, too, about the fact that it's in Minnesota, and they talk about in the beginning, before the movie even starts, how when you don't live in a big city, it could be a challenge. So I thought that that was also, in terms of the universal aspects, that anyone that wants to be a star has this, you know, that might be born in a place where they're not discovered or discoverable, you know, this yearning to get out, to break free, and to take whatever opportunities come your way because they're so rare, right? So I kind of thought it was great in that sense too, because I think some of the, you know, challenges that Jasmine has have nothing to do with albinism, you know, or disability in any way. Okay, any other questions? Oh my
One
God,
right here.
Okay, we got.
I thought the movie was really good, actually. I like the modeling. Did you have any experience with other modeling agencies or?
In real life, yeah. It'd be great to hear some real life stories.
So believe it or not, I'm not signed with an agency.
You will be now. Can we sign you up? How does that happen?
But I did do a lot of modeling while I was in college because I actually went to a art college. And as soon as I got there, everybody was like, "Oh, we would love for you to be your model, and can you do this for us and do this?" So I was able to, you know, gain experience just from in college and, you know, students being photographers there. So yeah, and then like at the ending of the movie, that's actually me doing like little shoots and stuff. So that's
So
I
cool.
love that the director was able to put personal touches in the movie, because I did like, you know, hair show modeling and, you know, modeling for my photo shoot for my birthday. So it was, I love that part of the movie, like the showing the ending and everything. But yeah, I'm not signed with an agency.
And I love just seeing you laugh in that gorgeous red dress. You know, I love the behind the scenes shots. It's great. Okay, we have so many hands. So, sir, I don't know who we can get to first.
I really enjoyed the acting. You were very good, and with your parents, with your friend, with just playing Wendy, that was wonderful scenes. But in particular, I was very moved by the scenes where you're having the conference at school with your mother and the school people, and then you go to the class on your own, and you sit in the same row as Romeo. And then I think Miss Figueroa is her name, walks in and calls you up to the front of the room. You know, it's just a very powerful scene. I just felt very, very sad for the character. Just, you know, already feeling different, and then having to, in the middle of class, move up to the front of the class. So I just want to thank you for your acting there. Was very, very powerful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Hi, great movie, by the way. I want to thank my friend for telling me to come to this. I learned a lot. You know, coming from a certain place of privilege, I wasn't aware of the struggles, so this was really eye-opening for me, just in general. But I also want to say, because I do work with special needs kids, I'm a social worker. That scene we were talking about IEPs, what I noticed was that they weren't including you in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because when you talk about inclusion with disabilities, right, I think that's a big thing, to be person-centered and to ask what you want, and they didn't even want to hear that. And it felt, I don't know if you ever experienced that. Like I said, I'm growing aware, but have you had to experience that in your own life, like in school and stuff?
So in school, I can hear my mom now. You need to be in the front of the class so you can see. But I always didn't want to feel like I was out of place. I wanted to be in the back with the cool kids. You know, I wanted to be back there giggling and laughing.
Passing
but
notes.
yeah, but when it came time to actually sit down and take notes on the board, I can still remember this to this day. Even though I wear glasses, I could not see. So I still had to get up, go in front of the class, and, you know, take notes. And people be like, "Why are you taking notes and you have glasses on?" I still can't see that well. So, you know, that feeling is kind of like, not embarrassment, but it's like kind of like, So yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I think one of the things of this film that, I mean, even if we side with your dad here, he didn't really factor in how you felt about that either, right? And then this lady just kind of assumes that you're uncomfortable and wants to take you out of a situation. And I think a lot of us with any kind of physical disability can relate to having other people kind of impose what they think you should be doing or how you should be treated. Like, I get stared at all the time because I, have ski poles. And I remember walking around at the Met with a friend of mine, and she was getting so pissed off that people were staring at me. And I'm like, this is my reality. It doesn't piss me off. I just take a moment and smile. But for her, she was like irate. And I just thought that was such an interesting element, is like, you don't have to only deal with how you feel about it, but also how everybody else is dealing with it. Yeah.
I love that you brought that up because usually I'm not aware of the stares unless I see you staring and I'm like, but my family is very, they be like, why are you looking at her? Especially my grandma, stop staring at her. But I don't, on an everyday basis, I'm just living life. I don't notice it unless somebody points it out. So, yeah.
I know. And if you chase everybody that's going to stare, you're literally going to have no life doing what you do, right? So, yeah, exactly.
Sort of also with Christian in the park, noticing someone was staring, that's not the experience. As a woman with albinism, I don't always notice. It's people around me who notice. Yeah. I am in my 40s as a woman with albinism, and I'm not a person of color in addition to being a woman with albinism, but I just wanted to say thank you for the representation, because it did not exist when I was a teenager. The influencers on social media did not exist when I was a teenager. I didn't know makeup tricks, so I didn't try makeup tricks. I just appreciate you. I wanted to ask, was there anything that you learned about albinism while you were reading the script, while you were filming?
Question.
So while we were filming, I never knew that there was different types of albinism. So that was really new to me as well. I had to research on that as well. I think it's like 7 different types, I believe. So I never knew that. Also, while we were filming, I'm trying to also think back. Sorry, I'm trying to also think back, go back and think. But that's one thing I remember for sure. Like, I never knew that was other, different types of albinism, things like that.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we have a
We're going to take 2 last questions over here.
Hi, I know that the director, the producer are not here, but I wanted to ask about the voices, that they sounded like real voices, which gave the whole thing a character of truth and reality. Whose idea was that, and were they really real voices?
I can't really speak too much on it, but I know the director herself. I believe she is actually voicing some of the video footage of, like, when I was in the park, and she was just talking, giving, because she actually wanted to be a model. I can't really tell her story, but she actually wanted to be a model at that time. So she was just doing like little layovers of like the steps and things you need to do at that time. But the other voices, I'm not sure of those voices, unfortunately.
Interesting. Well, it was a great part of the film, though. It really added a lot.
What inspired the scene when you stole money to just go to the agency?
Lift thief.
Because I stole money once, and for an acting workshop with a famous teacher. Oh, and I regret it.
Okay, so I actually have to ask the director that part. That one is very funny. Everybody laughs at that part all the time. But she really wanted me to feel like that teenage, like, why am I getting grounded? Can I get grounded another night? Like, my friend is here. But
inconvenient.
Yes. And I love even though it's very subtle, like the southernness, like, no ma'am, yes ma'am. My parents raised me like that, so I always say yes ma'am and no ma'am. So I really love that she put that part in the film, and you're in trouble. Are you a felon? So yes, I absolutely love that part.
That's great. Are there any other questions?
I had a question that I want.
Sure.
Knowing a little bit from just about the director, what inspired the story? What was kind of the process to get this made? Could you give us a little bit of the background?
So from what I heard from the director, some of the scenes in the movie is actually her real life. Like when she was 16 years old, she wanted to be a model. And then the car scene with the mom, I always get choked up on that part because it's very inspirational. But she said that's her mom's actual real story.
Wow.
She wrote it out on a script, and that's her mom's real story. So I always get emotional during that part. But yeah.
Aw. And I mean, that's the part that's so universal is like, who hasn't had moments where they felt held back? And then, and also considering that the parents are a little complicated in this film, it was great to see how much they love Jasmine at the same time, too. All right. I don't know.
I want to give a big thank you to Xian and Iyana for being here. Iyana for being here.
Love you so much already. We just met, but I'm like, I'm going to keep you if that's okay.
How do folks follow you? What's the...
My name is Iyana Leshea on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So it's IYANA_LESHEA.
Thank you so much for this beautiful film and this great conversation. Thank you all for joining us. Next up is at 4:30. We have here Upside Down, the feature film Upside Down. Please join us for that. We're excited. We have here some members of that cast and crew as well. And we look forward to seeing you throughout the week. And don't miss on Wednesday at 5 p.m., our closing day, the beauty panel with Xian. Thank you very much.